Here we are again with another landlord-tenant small claims dispute. This one aptly titled, Making a Tenant Mad. Actually, I don't know if it's aptly titled. We're gonna find out. Probably someone is upset with someone.
This is the plaintiff, Rachel Eckert. She says
she looks like an office manager.
You know where. She had all sorts of problems with him. Lost her job because of him and is suing the louse here and now.
That's hard to prove that.
$5,000 he's cost her. That's right. You mess with her, she's gonna do what she needs to do to get her money back.
She feels uncertain about her whole case.
And so be it. This is the defendant, Michael Hurley. He says the plaintiff was always getting into tussles with the neighbors. He had her arrested for stealing and she stopped paying.
Everybody here looks like they've done something wrong.
Trying to milk the system. He's learned a great lesson about being a landlord and thinks the judge is going to side with him on this one when she hears all the evidence. He's not accused
being a landlord's hard.
Landlording. The defendant has filed a countersuit for $2,650 for unpaid rent and lawyers' fees.
Parties, please raise your right hand.
Probably not going to get lawyers' fees.
Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas. Okay, Rachel Eckert.
Yes.
You are suing your former landlord, Michael Hurley.
Yes, correct.
For $5,000 that you say he owes you from your security deposit, pain and suffering, exterminator costs, podiatry costs. I can't wait. You have a counterclaim against her for $2,650 for 3 months' rent and lawyer's fees to get her evicted. All right.
The lawyer's fees he might get.
I had moved into Mr. Hurley's apartment in October of 2013 on the 25th. Prior to moving in, when I was moving my stuff in, I had fell down the stairs in the front hallway. I had to go to the emergency room, and I had a fractured bone in the top of my foot, and I had to go see a podiatrist for it.
Okay.
To this day, I still get edema in my foot. I've been treated.
How's that his fault?
Because there was a light in the hallway, but it didn't always work because there was a short.
Did it work when you fell?
No, it was not.
Okay, you lived there for how many months after that?
For about a year and 2 months.
Okay, because it's a little suspicious that you complain about it now.
Well, I said something to him about it at first, but when I had first moved in, I was worried that if I told him I was going to go after his homeowner's insurance, that he was going to put me right out, and I couldn't be put out when I had just moved into an apartment.
Okay. Do you have any proof that the light wasn't working?
No,
because you could fall because you were clumsy, or you could fall because the landlord did something.
They need to have proof that something was defective.
The landlord did something.
Yeah.
All right, so go on.
In July, the people upstairs had got a dog, and they never cleaned up after it. It went basically to the bathroom in the back driveway. And every time I would go outside to take my garbage out, I would either step in it or my car was back there, so I was always stepping in it.
Did you ever complain to him?
Yes, and I have text messages.
Okay, can I see the text messages?
Did you not get
along with those folks?
There was a few problems that we had with the driveway because we both were kind of trying to park in there, and it wasn't working out very well.
Okay.
The audience is always as amusing as the parties.
I was nice and I let them park both their cars that was unregistered and uninsured back there at the time.
Oh, so it's not cars.
Where are these accents?
Usually when I let them, I was nice and let them get it off the street, and it backfired on them.
Yeah.
He has like a mix of accents.
Was your car unregistered?
Yes, it did get unregistered at one point in time.
And was the other tenant's car unregistered?
Correct. And I do have notice from the code inspector that the cars were unregistered.
Yours too? You called your code inspector on your side?
I didn't call him. He came
out
for other reasons. He
came
out for the unsanitary conditions.
Did you have to pay a fine for that?
No.
I know she definitely called the code inspector. She called everybody she could think of.
When did she do that?
It didn't start until after I told her she couldn't get a dog, and ever since then everything went sour. And so there was a leak on the roof, and I came and fixed the leak on the roof. And asked her to move her car because the city inspector was asking me to move them because they were both unregistered. She refused to move her car, and I told her I'd have to give her 30-day notice and get the car towed if she didn't move it.
That's reasonable.
That's when she called the cops and said I was harassing her and I had to leave my own house because she wanted to get me arrested.
So let's back up.
But that's reasonable.
When and why did you tell her she had to go?
Because she refused to move her car, and I was going to get fined for it.
But what made you? At what tipped you off to that you were going to get fined for it?
I got a letter from the city inspector.
Okay, so she's already mad when she calls the city on you. All right, so back up a little more and tell me why she's calling the city on you.
I'm pretty sure it has something to do with me not letting her get a dog.
Okay. All right, so you're suing for your... When did you end up leaving?
I left December 15th.
Okay, and you left December 15th because you were evicted.
I agreed in landlord court that I didn't want to stay there.
And you were in landlord court on what kind of lawsuit?
Unlawful
It was a
detainer
lawsuit.
eviction.
He sent me a 30-day notice in September while I was still current with my rent. He just didn't want me staying there because
Did
I
you
had
have a lease?
It was a month-to-month.
Right, so he can do that. Go on.
So he can do that.
But I have filed complaints with the health department because there was sewage.
When was your
backed up.
first... When did you file the 30-day notice?
I think it was around September 19th, and I just asked her to leave.
Do you have the notice?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Was it September 19th?
It could have been September 19th.
Okay, let me see the notice. When did you file the first complaint?
In August.
Prove that. While she's looking for that, you filed a 30-day notice on September 17th telling her she has till October 31st, so you were giving her more than 30 days. And when you do that, does she get out on October 31st?
No, that's the first date. The first time I got a text message about the sewage was on October 31st, the day she was supposed to leave.
She
Okay.
claims that she had brought problems to your attention prior to that.
The only thing I heard about was the feces.
Yes. What she did was she filed a complaint with the Erie County Department of Health Rabies Disease and Vector Control Program inspection form. Notice issued to both upper and lower occupants. And then probably this is the day that they also fined you both for or cited you both for the cars?
No, it was a different day.
Oh.
I have the notice.
So basically the upstairs tenant got a warning and you got a warning too?
Yes.
Interesting. Tell me when your first complaint about...
So timing is very important. The timing of her complaints, the nature of her complaints, and the timing of his 30-day notice is important. I think what the judge is getting at is whether or not the termination and release was somewhat retaliatory in response to her complaining. That's why I think the judge is asking about the timing of all these complaints.
landlord and not the actions of the tenants happen. The answer is then it's after he tells you have to go.
Correct.
That's when you say, I broke my foot, he owes me money. That's when you say, I have pain and suffering. That's when you say, ooh, $1,200 for lost wages. What's that about?
Because when the plumbing problem started, he refused.
What plumbing problems?
There was raw sewage that was coming up through the bathtub and the toilet, and I have pictures and I have documentation from the health department.
When did that all happen?
That happened in October.
After you've already been asked to leave?
Correct.
Why would you want to stay in a place that's like that?
I was in the process of looking for somewhere else to move, but I was also about 7 months pregnant. So when I was looking for apartments, it was kind of hard because a lot of people were asking me, well, what are you going to do when you have the baby? And just nobody really called me back.
Okay. Show me the pictures of the raw sewage and talk to me about the raw sewage.
This also is pretty common when a landlord will initiate lease termination proceedings by either giving the notice or after the notice is expired and filing for an eviction, also called an unlawful detainer. Then the tenant will start complaining and try to start building a case from there. Things that are complained about after the notice is served to terminate the lease tends to hold less weight. That's why the judge is kind of questioning here, like, why is it that all of a sudden this stuff happened after you've been put on notice that the landlord wants you to move out?
I have them in my phone and only 2 of them that were printed out. This
Yeah, I'll see the ones on your phone. Get them up on your phone. What is this a picture of?
That's the bathtub.
How does this water have all that sewage in it? What are you saying is happening there?
It backed up.
It backed up to that extent?
Yes.
All the way up
Yeah,
like that?
that does happen. I've seen
When we
that.
would flush the toilet, it wouldn't flush, so we tried plumbing it, and then it would start coming up through the bathtub.
Who's we?
Me and my sister.
And what do you say about this? What's your response?
My response was that it didn't happen until after she was supposed to be out the house.
Okay, and then what did you do to fix it though?
I couldn't fix it while she was in there because I couldn't be around her. My lawyer told me to stay away from her after she tried to
That
call
doesn't
her
mean
out.
your lawyer can't tell you that you all of a sudden
Yeah,
you
you're
don't
a
have
landlord. You
obligations
have
as
to-
a landlord. That's crazy.
Yeah.
You still have to do what you're supposed to
I
do.
just didn't have the money, man.
Get it?
Your Honor.
So what do you think she sabotaged this? Because that's what you said in your
I
complaint.
think she put something down the drain. I can't
But you don't know.
prove
That.
it.
All right, and what are these pictures of bed bugs?
Can't
Yes.
prove that.
How are the bed bugs his fault?
Because
Nah.
I told him about it. He refused to eradicate them.
Did he bring bed
told
bugs
me-
into your house?
He didn't bring them in there.
Okay.
I haven't I mean, as far as I know, I can't say that I brought them in there. I can't say that anybody else brought them in there. I don't know how they got there.
Right. Because that's the problem with bed bugs is that you don't know how they got there. He doesn't know how they got there. I don't know how they got there. Only the bed bugs know how they got there. And the bed bugs ain't talking. So, but you want him to pay $850 for 2 beds?
I had to throw them out.
Yeah, you actually brought them to your new apartment before you threw them out, right?
Yes.
Okay, got it. You're suing for a couch and 2 beds. What's the couch for? Same reason?
I had to throw the couch out. I left it at the old house. I didn't bring it with me.
Did you throw it out or did you leave it for him to throw out?
I couldn't lift it up. I was like 7 months pregnant.
No, I know. You got yourself pregnant. I'm sorry. It doesn't mean somebody else has to move your stuff around. It means that you have trouble.
I was gonna
Okay, so now I have a question for you. Listen to me, because this is the last thing I need to go over, and then I need to give the floor to him. I want to understand the lost wages.
The lost wages was because when the sewage happened, I wasn't able to shower at all, so I called off for 2 days in a row.
Why would you call off from work? Why don't you just go to a friend's house and take a shower?
Because everybody knew about the bed bugs, and honestly, nobody really wanted me over there. So I was kind of like in a catch-22.
So someone should pay you $1,200 because you didn't pay $39 for a motel.
Well,
All right, let me hear from you. What's going on here? She's mad because of the dog.
At first, that's when I first started. Next thing you know, she went from calling the inspector on me to calling CPS on the people upstairs.
Did you call CPS on the? Did you call Child Protective Services on the
I
people
called
upstairs?
Child Protection Services because they were smoking weed upstairs. That's
But
the only
when was the
reason
first time
why
you called
I called.
Child Protection Services?
To be honest, I can't tell you when it was.
It was after the dog poop, right? You didn't
It may
call
have
them.
been.
Say it again.
It may have been, yes.
Okay.
And there's more to the story too. She got me in trouble for shared metering, which is with the electric company.
Yeah, you can't do that.
And I ended up getting
You
fined.
should get in trouble for
I
that.
got fined like $1,000 because
How much?
$1,000 fine.
Wow. Show me the proof
Well,
that
yeah.
you find $1,000. Tell me
And
the
if you're
real
doing
story
something
behind the $1,000
illegal,
fine.
you're gonna get fined for it. That's not on her.
You're supposed to have. I guess you're supposed to have the lights in the hallway on a 3rd meter.
Right.
But I didn't know that. This is my first house. I only been a landlord for a year, so I don't know all these laws. I'm just telling you, everybody she called. She's just trying to do whatever
Yeah,
she can
that's
to
the
get me
beauty
in
of
trouble.
home ownership.
Not to mention, she did steal. She did get arrested for taking the basement door off.
The
of my
what?
house.
What?
She broke in my
Okay,
basement.
hold
so I
on.
locked
There's
her
a lot
out.
going on. Ignorance of the law is not a defense. So you not knowing the law doesn't mean that you're exempt from it. It's your first rental. You had a not great tenant experience. That's very common. To do something, say, I didn't know, it's your responsibility to bring yourself up to speed on the laws and do the research before you implement something like shared metering. So that's not on her. But she stole the basement door. That's wild.
Out the basement because she unplugged the upstairs tenant's refrigerator that was down
Oh,
there.
you have got to be
And,
kidding me.
cost them
How do you
$100.
unplug how do you, from the basement, unplug the refrigerator?
The refrigerator
You mean
was
the
in-
breaker?
No, the refrigerator was in the basement because it was too big to go upstairs. But it was on their plug, and somehow it got unplugged. She said she didn't do it. So I did what I had to do, and I locked her out of the basement, and so she couldn't do it again.
You locked everybody out of the basement. Oh, you gave the
I
keys
gave
to the
the
top.
guy, I gave a key to the
Does she
guy
have any
upstairs.
reason to be in the basement?
Just the flip
Probably
breakers that she pops on and off. I mean, this girl lived in my house for a year, and the only complaints I did get from neighbors was traffic going in and out the house all hours of the night, going downstairs, going to her house.
So you lock the basement door and someone breaks in?
She took the door off the hinges and hid the door inside the apartment, and I had to come and call.
Did you find the door in the apartment?
The cops found the door in the apartment and arrested her.
Did the cops find the door in the apartment?
Yes, they did. And I
Did you take the door off the
Yes.
hinges?
Yes, I did.
Well, maybe you could pick up your own sofa then. Then it's not.
Oh my God!
Are you serious?
I had help bringing the door in. And
Why didn't get help taking the
The
sofa out?
reason I took the door off the hinges is that's when the sewage problem was, and after he refused to fix it on 3 or 4 separate occasions.
Do you have proof that you notified? Hold on 1 second.
Just because he hasn't fixed a sewer problem or you have beef with him, you don't start damaging the property. You don't take the door off the hinges. You don't do tit for tat like that. The police found the door in her Why would you do that? Why? Her and her earrings are like the craziest thing I've seen today.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Harvey Levin here. So, who generally causes bed bugs? Landlords or tenants?
I would say the tenant, because the property
Tenants.
inside the apartment is most likely the tenant's, the bed, the couch, things like that. So I would guess that it's the tenant's responsibility.
Pretty compelling. What do you think?
I agree with her. Like, if you're not clean, you're causing it.
We're going for the tenant or the landlord?
The landlord, because they have to keep the facility clean, and if they're not doing that, then the tenant can't keep it clean as well and will continue to go.
No. Bed bugs tend to be the fault of the tenant. Landlord usually in an apartment setting leases a vacant apartment. No bed bugs. The tenant then brings in furniture. If the tenant brings in furniture that has bed bugs in it, it is not the responsibility of the landlord. The landlord didn't bring in the furniture that brought the bed bugs. The landlord is not making the premises dirty or uninhabitable. Now, how there been instances where there's been bed bugs that have not been addressed, yes, then they spread to the building. But if you have bed bugs, you need to immediately notify the landlord, and then immediately there needs to be like pest control done to eradicate the bed bugs, and then that bill most likely than not will be passed on to the tenant, depending on the jurisdiction. Because there's some jurisdictions that have rules about, you know, who's responsible for that. But it is, I would say, a majority of the time the tenant, because they're the one bringing in the furniture that has the bed bugs on it. And it may not seem like that's very common. It is. Just because you're a very clean tenant does not mean that everybody else is a very clean tenant. Just because you have a bunch of clean tenants in the building, it takes one not clean tenant to start bringing a bunch of pest control problems to a building, like roaches, like bed bugs. So most people have the idea, I disagree with the last person. It is responsibility of the landlord to provide a clean premises, but it's also the responsibility of the tenant to keep their premises clean.
The sewage problem?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I want to see that. But go ahead. So the reason you stole the landlord's
But the
door,
sewage problem,
I was
to me,
trying to get my own plumber in there to fix it. I had called
why would the plumber need to get into the basement to fix?
Because as far as everybody told me, I had already called the city plumber, and they said that it wasn't
the city plumber. There's no such thing as a city plumber.
It had been something underneath the house.
All right, so now
city
here's
plumber.
a text between you guys. Okay, fine. Building inspector's coming by on Monday. This is what you texted him on October 31st. I'll just share him the message. And I will leave when the courts issue an eviction. If I can't go to work, I'll lose my job, and you will be in the Supreme Court for intentional infliction of emotional distress. I don't have time for your pettiness. Anytime there was something wrong, you said you can't afford to fix it, then you don't need to be a landlord. The plumbing was fine. I refuse to fix it when you're living in my house for free. You're wrong about that part. I'm going to take you to court for any damages to my house.
That's valid.
How long had she not been paying rent by October 31st?
The last time she paid rent was August 25th.
And that was for August 1st?
That goes till September 25th.
September. So then you give her notice September 17th, and that's it.
She
stopped paying rent.
paying
So she didn't pay October, and when did she finally leave?
December 15th.
So she didn't pay October, November, or
That's
December?
a pretty quick eviction.
All right. Now, when she left in December, what propelled her to leave? Court?
U.S. Marshal came and locked her
The
up.
U.S. Marshal actually came? You pushed it that far?
I had to pay for that.
Yeah.
We went to court, and she did not make an agreement to move.
She got locked out.
Gave her 33 more days to live there, and then gave
Why?
She came into the courtroom probably 7 months pregnant with a bed bug in a container and tried showing it to the judge, and the judge said she didn't want to see it.
If you knew that a judge had given you an additional 33 days, why couldn't you do what the judge asked?
The apartment wasn't ready until December 15th.
Well, get yourself ready. See, that's the problem, is that you think that your problem has to be not your problem.
No.
Sometimes your problem is your problem. It's not other people's problem to cope with because you have a problem.
Ma'am, I actually do have pictures too showing what the apartment looked like before she moved in, and
Let me see that.
Good.
The way it looked when she moved out.
Inspection.
Let me see that.
I never seen rugs so dirty.
Who are these people printing out photos these days?
You know, the rugs before she moved in, they were spotless before she moved in.
Wow, this is a really good picture. This shows what was covered and how to get this dirty.
Traffic.
How much traffic was there in that place?
For photos, you want photos of the whole room, and then you want like zoomed in photos. I can't there we go, like zoomed in and then like the whole room. You want photos that show like the whole, so someone can get oriented about the room, bathroom, bedroom, kitchen, whatever. Then you want to zoom in on the issue so you can highlight the issue. When people have too focused of images, no one knows what they're looking at. There's no point of reference.
Oh.
I also have a receipt of what it cost to clean them when she moved too.
Now, you're suing for September, October, November, December in this, but I think you just mean 3 months. So I think that you mean October, November, December.
Yes, correct.
Right. And you're suing for $700 in legal fees. What's that?
Oh, that's what I paid the lawyer.
Prove it. Where is something that would be actual proof, like a lawyer's bill that you paid and proof you paid it?
Truth is, probably somewhere lost in my house.
Okay, then you understand. I mean, I'm happy to oblige if you can just prove it.
You have to prove it.
Find it. That's
okay. All right, we're done. We're done. We are so done. Stick a fork in me. We're done. Let's see. Miss Eckert, let's first talk about your lawsuit against him. You want your security deposit back. That's not happening.
No.
You want him
Back
to pay
rent.
$851 for a new couch because you had bed bugs.
No.
I don't see any proof in this case that he caused your bed bugs. You want $800 and something for your hospital bill and podiatry bills because you fell on steps that you never complained about until a year and a half later. That's not happening. You want, this one's my favorite though, $1,200 in lost wages because you didn't go to work how many days?
I didn't go for 2. The 3rd day is when I ended up getting arrested, which got dismissed in criminal court.
Wait, what'd you get arrested for? The door?
That was, yeah, when I took the door off.
You're
which
kidding me because the cops found the door in your place.
Which
So
got
they arrested
dismissed.
you. What happened with that criminal
It got
case?
dismissed.
Okay, and the so the $1,200 is because you lost your job?
I lost
From
my
her
job
own
because I
acts.
didn't go to work for 3 days. The first 2 days is because I called off, and the 3rd day because I couldn't go because I had to spend the night in jail.
You literally
The
didn't go to
first
work for 2 days because you couldn't take a shower?
I tried. Like I said, nobody really wanted me to go over there because they knew
Okay.
the problem.
All
in the
right,
house.
you want him to pay for 2 beds. That's not happening. You want him to give
She
you
could've
$1,000
cleaned with,
in
like,
pain and
baby
suffering.
wipes.
I'm surprised you're not suing for pain and suffering. And you want him to pay for the exterminator costs. None of that is happening. On your counterclaim against her, you have 0 proof of the lawyer's fee. You're not getting that. You would have if you brought proof. And as for your lawsuit for the 3 months rent of October, November, December, I find sufficient proof of that, and I am awarding you $1,950. Pay the man. That's my verdict.
But okay, for this calculation, I want more specificity out of the judge. The tenant goes, I want my security deposit. She goes, that's not happening. But then the judge hasn't explained why that's not happening. I would argue, okay, you're not getting it because you owed back rent. So is the back rent being offset by the security deposit? Why is security deposit being forfeited? Is that being accounted for in the judge's ruling? It seemed like the judge goes, hey, you're going to get the back rent, here you go. I don't know how the security deposit was addressed there. I don't know what jurisdiction this is in, but I feel like that should have been flushed out or credited towards maybe the back rent. That's typically what security deposits are credited for, or you use for damages and back rent. So all in all, that one was like a little choppy. I would obviously want it cleaner, but then it wouldn't be people's court. Bed bugs, again, I don't think were the fault of the landlord. The sewage thing is his fault. Even if you're evicting a tenant, you still have an obligation to keep the unit habitable, and sewage backup falls on the landlord. Her taking the door off of the basement is wild. I don't know why you would do that. And then like keep the door. Like why would you keep it in your unit? Like you would take it off and then bring it in. Like that's gross. Like why would you want that in your unit to begin with? It's a basement door. It's probably dirty. So that's bizarre. Her losing her job, I don't see how that's the landlord's fault. Not being able to take a shower because of the sewer backup. She should have gone to a hotel and then asked for a credit for the hotel. Like I had to go shower in a hotel for 2 days. Her having a bed bug issue and not going to a hotel is like for the greater good, in my opinion. But that being said, she'd had to find a way to shower. Or she could have like clean herself, I don't know, with like baby wipes. The bed bug issue she should have had addressed right away. And that's on her, not on the landlord. And she didn't move out till December. And she was, I guess, arrested sometime in October. So I don't know what happened with the whole bed bug thing. That she lost her job and then I guess didn't look for one. That's again on her. That's outside the scope of the actual case. I have so many questions. I have so many. As for the landlord, it is your responsibility to keep yourself apprised of the laws in your area for landlording. I'm sure most jurisdictions have. This one, it seems like there's a housing department because they keep talking about her calling the city, her calling, it seemed like public health, maybe building and safety for the area. So those websites tend to have resources. You should read the municipal code that deals with habitability. Habitability tends to be the co-section or something of that nature for landlord-tenant relationships. But a lot of jurisdictions will have resources regarding, tenants' rights and responsibilities and landlords' rights and responsibilities, especially one that, has a housing authority. So he could have looked that up. I can't quite tell. It seems like it's a house, but then it seems like there's 2 or 3 stories. There's a basement and then maybe a floor and a second story, maybe the basement's the third. I can't quite tell. And the shared metering thing, that can get people in trouble. You need to have, if you want to charge utilities to a tenant, you have to do it the right way. Either have some sort of sub-metering system in place, and that system needs to be properly monitored or registered with the city, or you can request to get a separate meter and work with the local utility company to separately meter these things. It has to be done professionally because you want to make sure all of the utilities for one unit is being billed and that you're not, you know, having electricity or water from another unit going on to the meter of another tenant. So that's why they're hypercritical about that, because you don't want to be improperly charging tenants for another tenant's or the house utilities. House utilities meaning utilities for the main property or the common area. So with utilities, there's a house meter, which is a meter for the building, and the common area, lights go on it. There's only 1 meter for water. That's the meter. Other utilities, there's the sub panels or the sub meters. Usually electricity has a sub meter, gas has a sub meter a lot of the times, unless there's like common area laundry, then common area water heater. So if a landlord pays water, usually the water heater also is master meter, house meter, same thing. That went on a major tangent. I don't know why, but there's a lot involved. The landlord basically needed to be apprised of his rights, but in this case, she was supposed to pay rent and he's supposed to fix the things like the sewer, and not having the money is very common. He looks like a young guy, so congrats to him for being able to put together money to get a property, but you need to have some sort of reserve for repairs, because things like that will happen, especially with multi-tenant. Sewer backups, you know, happen. Another intriguing small claims dispute. My last point, whoever has the better documents tends to, you know, have a better chance in court. So for everybody out there, make sure you keep your documentation in order. That is very, very, very vital to all of your cases. Like for instance, he could have gotten his attorney's fees, except he didn't have the documentation. Judge cannot give you something that you can't prove. Other than that, everybody should behave. I'm still flabbergasted that she took the basement door off. I don't know why she did that. Anyways, that's all I have for this video. Thank you.